This is Valley News Live at noon.
We have an update to a story we have been following since last Friday. Clay County Sheriff Mark Empting says charges are possible after officials searched a cornfield looking for a family on July 29th. Now, this is video from the scene that day. You see that pickup there on the side of the road right next to the field. That search was initiated after a man walked into the Dilworth Police Department saying that his family was hiding in a field nearly 25 miles away. He told police the family pulled into a field near Downer because they thought they were being chased. Canines and drones were then used to find the mother and two children. Police say they're not sure if the family was actually being chased. Drug use is now suspected. Empting says he isn't able to disclose what charges may be possible in this case. No one is in custody, but Empting says he believes the children are now in protective services. Taking that live look outside, it looks pretty good outside right now. Very warm out there, but we are tracking the possibility for some storms and some severe intense heat. We want to head on over to Lisa Green. Good afternoon, Lisa.
Good afternoon. On this first alert weather day, heat and storms, both of those things individually are concerns, and then bringing them all together, it's going to be a tough afternoon and evening ahead for a lot of us. Here's a look at the latest radar. It's quiet to the south, but we've had ongoing rumbles of thunder, some heavy rain at times in spots that have been moving through along and ahead of the front, and that's affecting mainly places north of Highway 2. So still some spotty areas of rain in northeastern North Dakota, more numerous showers and even a thunder shower into northwest Minnesota, especially right along the Canadian border there. And we've had some rain that popped up in the east as well over into Beltrami County. A few thunderstorms right over the Red Lake area. Those are all moving west to east as well. So there are some places picking up some rain. We've got some clouds with that too, and then other spots with sunshine, and everybody's warm and muggy. We are into the 80s in a lot of spots. Fargo's at 87. It's 85 in Grand Forks, Jamestown 88, and in Devil's Lake 79 degrees there. We're watching that cold front. It'll move through that area first, and ahead of it, especially south of it, that's where we're looking at some of the most intense heat. So we remain in a heat advisory starting at 1 p.m. So in about an hour from now in southeastern North Dakota until the evening hours tonight when we're going to see our hottest temperatures. Combine that with mugginess, and we're looking at heat index values that will be 100 and perhaps even higher than that in those areas. So dangerous heat. And then later tonight, we've got a chance for some severe storms, a slight risk from Bemidji, Beltrami County, through Detroit Lakes, the Sioux Pass Ranch area for Weefesters, and Fargo, Moorhead, Fergus Falls, and down into southeastern North Dakota for severe storms for the evening hours. So we have a bunch of things to talk about here today. We're going to get into the details on timing and just how hot we'll get coming up in just a couple of minutes.
Okay, Lisa, thank you. The former police chief of Brooklyn Center, Minnesota, is suing city officials, alleging they forced him to resign for not immediately firing Officer Kim Potter, who shot and killed Dante Wright during a traffic stop in 2021. Tim Gannon claims the city manager gave him the opportunity to resign in lieu of termination, but did not provide him due process. Gannon says there was racial tension in the emergency council meetings and says he was fired because he's white. Gannon is seeking $50,000 in emotional distress and damage to his reputation. Former officer Kim Potter is serving 2 years in prison for killing Wright. She says she intended to use a taser on him, but then accidentally pulled out her gun. Wright was stopped for outstanding warrants and was then shot when he struggled with officers. The Department of Justice is now bringing federal charges against 4 of the officers involved in the shooting death of Breonna Taylor. The charges include violating Taylor's civil rights, conspiracy, use of force offenses, and obstruction in the 2020 botched raid that led to her death. Taylor's family and their attorneys said they're thankful the Justice Department is taking action. Permanent jewelry has been a popular concept recently, and now a jeweler in North Dakota has brought the trend here. Chelsea Katiter has been making permanent jewelry at pop-up events for 2 months now. Instead of a traditional clasp, a small welding tool will bind the chains together. The jewelry is intended to stay on until it's broken or cut off. She now has more than a dozen chains to offer, and she says each one allows a personal story to be told.
I've had a cancer survivor that that's how they marked their 1 year anniversary. I've had anywhere from young high school girls to this really fun group of 70 plus women that were we've been friends since high school.
That pop-up shop will be back in Fargo on August 26. In our consumer alert, as travelers return to the skies in droves following a pandemic pause, airlines and airports across the world are grappling to meet demand. Even with recession fears and soaring inflation, Jen Sullivan shows us why the travel industry appears to be thriving.
As the peak summer travel season winds down, travel experts say Americans are still spending money on their vacations, despite historic inflation and recession fears.
While consumers are starting to pull back on some discretionary spending, some things they don't have to spend money on, it's not holding true for travel.
Several travel industry leaders say demand is still high. Scott Kays, founder of the flight aggregator website Scott's Cheap Flights, points to several factors, including a rise in credit card travel spending.
American Express noted that travel spending was up nearly 150% in the previous quarter.
That's despite fears of an economic downturn on the horizon. Experts blame that on so-called revenge travel, the huge travel boom following years of lost vacations during a pandemic slump. Meanwhile, Airbnb says reservations are soaring. On Tuesday, the company announced a 24% increase in bookings in the 3 months that ended in June, compared to the same time period in 2019. And when it comes to hitting the road, gas prices are declining. On Wednesday, the U.S. national average price of a gallon of regular gas was $4.16, according to AAA. Compared to a month ago, that was $4.81. And experts say cheaper prices are ahead.
While motorists may be incentivized by prices that have been falling, more decreases lie ahead.
On Wednesday, OPEC, the world's oil exporting countries and its allies, agreed to a tiny increase in production next month, amid fears that a global recession will hurt demand. For today's Consumer Watch, I'm Jen Sullivan.
OPEC says it will produce an additional 100,000 barrels of oil a day in September. Federal health officials are deciding on their next steps after the White House declared monkeypox a public health emergency. But next, it's a First Alert weather day out there. Lisa Green is tracking what could disrupt your plans.